Hey everybody, this is Tom with the Board Gamer. Today we're going to do a quick overview and review for this game. If you want the full how-to, go ahead and click this icon up here or the link in the description. Now let's get into it. Wild Serengeti is a 1 to 4 player game for ages 14 and up with an average gameplay length of 45 to 120 minutes, published by Bad Comet. The basic overview for Wild Serengeti has you spending coins to discover and place animals on the map to create scenes that match your scene cards for points. At the end of 6 rounds, the player with the most points wins. I don't know about you, but I love a good nature show or documentary, especially if it's narrated by the great Sir David Attenborough. I am enthralled by the visuals, captivated by the narration, and left having learned something about a part of the world that I may or may not ever experience. With Wild Serengeti, I feel like I'm making one of those documentaries. My narrative may not be there, but I am providing a good amount of scenes for an editor to piece together a beautiful show or documentary. Well, enough about me. Let's talk about the nature of Wild Serengeti. Before we start, I want to let you know I did buy the upgraded wooden components. I felt with the amount of wooden animals, it would only feel right if the rest of the components matched. The cardboard VFX, food, and coins are fine, but I think the continuity of all the wood improved the game's table presence and felt more impactful when collected. Now, as for the locks, both the cardboard and wooden locks are really not necessary for the game. It helps visually from a distance to let you know that a certain spot is locked due to player count. But since they are already marked on the board, they're not really needed. But what is needed, and what I think are the stars of the show, are these wooden animals. Not only for table presence, the height and size difference really helps you see the scene you are putting together. And given the dual-sided map, you can have a bit of variety in the game layout. Now, as for the scene cards you are completing, I have a couple things to say. The positive is the art and explanation are very well done and very easy to understand. Not only that, the sheer amount of scene cards is amazing. But that being said, the cards were a bit thinner than I would have liked, making it a bit harder to shuffle without bending some of the cards, as well as the consistency of some of the cards. I don't know if they were just different batches when printed, but some of them are smooth while others have a textured feel, which I prefer. But aside from shuffling, you don't really handle them all that much, so I don't know how much that will matter to some of you out there. The other cards, like the specialist cards and the Great Migration cards, are well done and easy to understand. And the Rock of Ages works as a round tracker and lets you know what you need to do on each round. For example, the amount of coins to receive, or if and when events will occur. As a whole, there are a lot of components in this game, and I think each one improves the overall game itself through table presence and in gameplay. Wild Serengeti is easier to learn than some other games, mainly because everything is out in the open. So as long as you have one person that already knows how to play, your questions can be asked throughout the game, like what actions do, and clarifications on how certain scenes or specialist cards work. And if no one knows how to play, just watch my how-to video. But seriously, this game only has a few actions, including free actions, making an individual player only having to worry about a couple of things. The only issue you may run into is math related. If you're not a big fan of multiplication and division, you may want to avoid certain scene cards. Luckily, in the base game, there are 168 scene cards, so avoiding certain scene cards with math on them is fairly easy. Another thing that eases the burden of play is you score as soon as you complete a card, except for the like and heart icon cards. So you always have plenty of good idea of where you and other players stand. And after you score any extra points from those like and heart icon cards at the end of the game, it's over. There's no extra waiting to tally more or additional points, making it have an immediate reward and feeling of satisfaction than a delayed one allowing you to move on to your next playthrough. Speaking of future playthroughs, I think there are many replay opportunities for Wild Serengeti. But be warned, the more players you have, the longer the game tends to be. So you might not want to play immediately after completing a game, but after a day's rest, coming back to the table and seeing this game will put a smile on your face. At least, that is what it did for me. Now the game is still new, so I don't know how long I will have this feeling compared to other games that I've had in my collection for years. But I will say this is currently my favorite game, making my desire to replay it even higher. Plus, it's my girlfriend's new favorite, further increasing my ability to replay it. Another thing helping its replayability is the variety of the ways to score points, including the specialist cards. These cards change up the way you can score, giving you a strategic leg up depending upon the specialist. However, if the specialist doesn't mesh with the way you play, you can just ignore it if you don't want to take advantage of its effects, or play without the cards entirely. Because I enjoyed playing with the specialist cards, this provided lots of replayability for me, but they're not required to play the game, so you can always disregard them if you don't want to. Wild Serengeti is a strategy game. You can have moments when you get lucky, especially when you opt to wipe the entire scene pool and draw a new one for free. And if you're lucky, it'll be a scene that's already done. But that happens very rarely and is not a reliable tactic. Another lucky thing that can occur is an opponent can put an animal on the board where you need it to be. But again, that is also rare to have an opponent that is that nice. Thankfully though, the strategy of this game is more fun for everyone than most games that focus on individual strategy. You can purely focus on your scenes, disrupt your opponent's scenes, or even go all in on a single scene type. I personally recommend the latter. It really helps when playing with certain specialists, or just in general, when trying to complete those scenes with that math on them. Throughout this review, I have raved about my emotional connection to this type of game, but I will say this theme works flawlessly. It starts with the premise of making a documentary. So you need animals to be together in different ways depending upon the scene. These are wild animals and tend not to follow directions. So you can move them around. You can help move them by offering them food, or just disregarding where they are entirely by using a VFX token. The narrative of the gameplay goes really well together, and the wooden animals, or animeeples, help sell the whole package. This game not only provides a theme, but lives it throughout. So go out there and document your own adventure in Wild Serengeti. This board gamer says, wildly entertaining, not boring. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and ring the bell to get notified about new videos. If you're bored now, click this for more games.